Thomas's ex-girlfriend's child had leukemia. When the child was critically ill and wanted to see him, he left me alone on a winding mountain road in a downpour. Later, when I decided to divorce him, he impatiently demanded to know why I was making a fuss over a child. He added that the child was almost better and wouldn't bother us anymore. I looked at him and said, very calmly, "Her child is better. My child is gone." My mother had been pressuring me to get married ever since I graduated from college. It was a weekly topic, a constant push for 3 whole years. I finally couldn't take it anymore and agreed. And so, on my one and only blind date, I met Thomas. I can't describe my shock. To me, he had always been unattainable, the person I had loved for 9 long years. But I never dared to let anyone know, because he had his princess, Chloe. I'll never forget after the college entrance exams, when Thomas scored first in the city. During an interview, a reporter asked if there was anyone he wanted to thank. He suddenly took Chloe's hand and said, "I want to thank my girlfriend, Chloe. I hope to climb the next mountain with you." I sat by the television, watching his declaration, unable to say a word. It was true. Chloe was 2nd in the school, 8th in the city, while I was someone who had to fight with all my might just to barely make it into the top 50. I thought they would be together forever. Perhaps there were just too many mountains in life, and they eventually went their separate ways. Chloe was scouted by an agent during her freshman year and became a star. By her junior year, she was a household name, and then she broke up with Thomas. I didn't feel much when I heard the news, but on many nights, I would remember how, when my grades were average and I was at the bottom of the class, the homeroom teacher said I would never get into a good university. Thomas stood up for me. He told the teacher, "Whether she gets in or not is not for you to decide." For a teacher to speak like that is truly disappointing. Later, he lent me his notes. He would always answer my questions patiently, but I knew he was just a nice person. I never ignored the look of awe in his eyes when Chloe wore a blue pleated skirt. I didn't dare let Thomas see my feelings. I was terrified that we wouldn't even be friends in the end, until their relationship was discovered by the homeroom teacher, who even called both their parents. Because both were top students, they only got a lecture. Everyone in class was guessing who had snitched, until a boy shone a fluorescent pen on my notebook and revealed the words, "You must not like Thomas." The notebook was thick. Every few pages, there was a sentence like that, or something similar. "Absolutely do not like Thomas. I must not fall for him." I had written those obscure, anxious words with an invisible ink pen. When I walked into the classroom, I heard the boy reading them out loud, word by word, with dramatic intonation. My pride was stripped away, layer by layer. Everyone was looking at me. Chloe stood up, about to question me. Thomas pulled her back, then snatched the notebook and put it on the desk, never looking at me the entire time. Suddenly, everyone in class started to avoid me. I stopped trying to talk to Thomas too, until one afternoon, when a few people were talking about it again, I heard Thomas stand up and say, "Don't spread rumors without proof. It's over." My situation started to improve. I wanted to explain to him, but I never got the chance. I wrote him a note explaining, "It really wasn't me." He replied, "Don't do it again." My hands were trembling at that moment. I didn't know what to say, but at least he had defended me in public. But he truly believed I had done it. The day we went to get our acceptance letters after the exams, we met under the big banyan tree at school. I tried to explain to him, "Thomas, I didn't do that." I could barely say his name anymore. It felt awkward coming from my lips. He smiled at me and said, "It's all in the past." I stood there, unable to even force a smile. He suddenly patted my shoulder and said, "Good luck, Ava." "Goodbye, Ava." A gust of wind blew, sending a shower of banyan blossoms down. I watched his retreating back and silently whispered, "Goodbye, Thomas. We probably wouldn't see each other again." Later, I learned about him from classmates, from our group chats. He climbed one peak after another, shining brightly at the summit. I tried my best to get into a good university and lived my ordinary life. Even getting a scholarship required all my effort. I knew early on that we were different people. I was shocked when I heard he and Chloe had broken up. I had been trying to forget about him completely, but I couldn't stop myself from logging into that old account. The first message was still our anonymous exchange. In our sophomore year, Thomas had a car accident and broke his leg. Many people said he would definitely lose his top spot. I felt uncomfortable hearing that. I organized my class notes every day, writing them out in neat script. I usually wrote messily to save time, but I was afraid he wouldn't be able to read it, so I deliberately imitated a formal script and sent him photos on time every day. At first, he just said thank you. Later, he kept asking who I was, guessing endlessly. I always dodged the question. I didn't want him to know. A week after I found out about his breakup, I thought, just one last time. I sent him a comforting message. Keep climbing the mountains. You'll meet that person again at the summit. He asked me, who are you? It doesn't matter. It's all in the past. After that, I never opened that account again. After graduation, I became a sales supervisor at a cosmetics company. Because of my mother's pressure to get married, I saw him again. He didn't seem as high-spirited as before. We sat in a coffee shop. Long time no see. Hanging awkwardly between us, we talked about our lives over the years. I already knew most of his story. As for mine, I felt it was rather unremarkable. I didn't know how to talk about my lackluster, unglamorous years. It seemed so boring. I spoke briefly, where I graduated, where I worked. He seemed uninterested, until I brought up the past again. I still wanted to explain that I would never do such a thing. He froze, a hint of irresolvable sadness in his eyes. It's been so long. Let's not talk about it. I nodded numbly and took a sip of my coffee. It was bitter. I suddenly remembered I had forgotten to add sugar. On our second date, we went to a restaurant. I ordered a table full of dishes I vaguely remembered him liking. He was about 20 minutes late, saying there was traffic. I smiled and said nothing. He looked at the dishes on the table, stunned. These are all my favorites. Really, I just ordered randomly. He enjoyed that meal. That evening, as he walked me home, he suddenly took my hand and said, Ava, should we give it a try? I looked at him in surprise, then nodded. I couldn't sleep all night. I was actually with Thomas. My mother asked me how it went. I didn't hide it from her, just lowered my head and said, we're going to try things out. Try what? Where are you going to find someone as good as Thomas again? You better hold on tight, she said, exasperated. On our third date, Thomas directly asked me if I wanted to get married. I knew his mother had been driving him crazy. I wanted to ask, do you really like me? Are you with me because you like me, or even love me? But the words got stuck in my throat. Looking into his eyes, I couldn't ask. I hadn't met anyone suitable over the years, and people around me were getting married one by one. I was already 26. I wasn't a child anymore. Why ask these questions? At least Thomas was someone I liked. When we got married, my mother asked for a dowry of 300,000. I was completely stunned. She had never mentioned it to me. I had never even thought about it. Thomas said nothing and transferred the money to her on the spot. For a moment, I couldn't face him. Fortunately, I had saved about 200,000 from work over the years. I gave him the card, promising to pay him back in 2 years. He didn't take the card, just said, it's what I should give. On our wedding night, he was very drunk. He looked straight at me, then touched my face and said, Ava, I never thought we'd get married. It wasn't a very happy wedding night. Besides the pain, I felt nothing. At the end, he said with great surprise, Ava, have you never been in a relationship before? I turned my head away, not looking at him. It hurt too much. This was nothing like what the novels said. I went to the bathroom, opened that account, and saw an anonymous post. I never thought marriage would become a business transaction. My legs felt weak, so that's what he thought. But I didn't even have the courage to question him. Tears started to fall uncontrollably. I could only keep washing my face. When I came out, he was probably tired and had fallen asleep. I went to the study. The moment I closed the door, the tears finally broke free. Perhaps it was our age, or perhaps it was something everyone had to go through. My mother and Thomas's mother were both pressuring us to have children. One day, when we went to Thomas's family home for dinner, his mother probably couldn't hold it in any longer. She brought me a bowl of fish soup and said, Ava, look how thin you are. You should eat more. How else are you going to have a baby? This was the first time she had been so direct about this topic. I didn't answer, just lowered my head and drank the soup. She suddenly changed the subject. When are you two planning to have children? I felt uneasy, trying to think of an answer. Thomas walked over and said, Mom, we're not in a hurry. He didn't seem to want to have children with me. Then why did we get married? Just to be partners. I tend to avoid problems, so I stopped thinking about it. Anyway, I had just been promoted to manager, and my boss was encouraging me to work hard. I quickly saved another 100,000, plus the previous 200. I kept thinking about that anonymous post. When I gave Thomas the card, his reaction was not what I expected. His face was surprisingly grim. It must have been hard for you to save this much. I don't need it. You can spend it yourself. After that, he walked away without another word. Not long after, he transferred a very valuable property in the city center to my name. After that, we were in a cold war until our third anniversary. I wanted to ease the tension between us and asked him to celebrate with me, but he stood me up. Then I saw him on the trending news. That evening, I sat on the sofa with a single lamp on. I had never questioned him like this before, but this time, I thought of all the dishes that had gone cold, just like my heart. Time and time again, he came in, bringing a chill with him. I couldn't help but shiver. He picked up a blanket from the sofa and draped it over me. "Why aren't you in bed yet?" I wanted to ask him, but before I could, he spoke first. "It's not what they're saying online." I ran into a drunk Chloe on the way. I suddenly couldn't listen anymore. I interrupted him. "It's okay, I'm a little tired." Then I stood up and walked towards the bedroom. He suddenly said from behind, "Why do you care about these things? You only care about what you want. When it rains, it pours." The celebrity spokesperson our company hired turned out to be Chloe. I was the one responsible for receiving her. She called me by name, "Miss Song." "It's a bit inconvenient for me. Could you help me put on my shoes?" And so, in front of everyone, I knelt down and put on her shoes. She whispered in my ear, "Do you really think you're worthy of him?" I looked up at her arrogant expression and felt a wave of frustration. I mouthed back, "None of your business." Many reporters were waiting outside to interview her. Thomas sent me a message saying he would pick me up from work today. My insecure marriage suddenly gained a bit of confidence from his words. Then, someone recognized him. The reporters were about to rush in. Thomas quickly ran, and Chloe grabbed his sleeve, and they ran together. The flashes of cameras were everywhere, dazzling my eyes. I touched my face and realized a tear had fallen. Someone around me exclaimed, "Wow, so romantic." A celebrity's great escape with her lover, just like their love story many years ago. As the main characters, we onlookers would just sigh at how perfect they were together. A love story between top students. But this time, my role wasn't just a passerby, was it? I was the evil side character who stood in the way of the main character's beautiful love. I was in a daze and was knocked to the ground. Someone stepped on my wrist. A sharp pain shot through me, but I didn't even have the strength to cry out. The crowd dispersed. My colleague asked, stunned, "Ava, was that your husband?" At her words, everyone around me looked at me. My chest felt tight. I composed myself and forced a smile. "How could that be? You must have seen wrong." I don't know how I got through the rest of the workday. I was like a zombie. I wandered aimlessly in our neighborhood. I didn't dare go up. I'm a coward. I really didn't know how to face him. What should I ask? Should I ask him why he left me there today and staged a great escape with Chloe? I walked and walked until the sky turned gray and the streetlights came on one by one. The moment a streetlight lit up, Thomas suddenly appeared in front of me. I immediately turned to run. He said in a displeased tone, "Stop." I ignored him and quickened my pace. He strode over and grabbed my hand, the same one that had been stepped on this afternoon. I cried out in pain. He finally noticed. In the dim light of the streetlight, he saw that my wrist was severely swollen. I hadn't had a chance to deal with it today. I was annoyed. After all, it was my own body, and I had work tomorrow. Thomas's face grew darker. "How did this happen? When did it happen?" I looked at him sarcastically. "Where else could your eyes see me?" He was speechless for a moment, but not angry. He suddenly picked me up. I hit his shoulder with my good hand, telling him to put me down. There were colleagues I knew in the neighborhood, and I was afraid of being seen, but he ignored me, carrying me to the parking lot and putting me in the passenger seat. Then he fastened my seatbelt and drove me to the hospital. On the way, he gripped the steering wheel and said, without looking at me, "The trending news thing was because Chloe was drunk, and there was no one with her. I was afraid something would happen to her, so I took her home." This time, a reporter recognized me. I was running by myself, and then she followed. He looked calm, but his hands were trembling slightly, and there were beads of sweat on his forehead in the middle of winter. "She was drunk. Couldn't you have contacted someone else? If all else failed, you could have called the police. A reporter recognized you, so you had to run with her. What is your relationship?" "Thomas, don't you have a mouth? Can't you answer and clarify? Or do you not think you need to? Do you need to explain anything to me?" The car suddenly stopped on the side of the road. He turned his head and looked at me in shock. I avoided his gaze. Tears were welling up. I opened the window and wiped them away. A hand reached out, wanting to take mine. I quickly pulled away. "I'm sorry," Thomas said suddenly. I was silent. He continued, "I'm sorry. I promise this won't happen again. I won't let you be wronged again." I still didn't say anything. He had no choice but to keep driving. We quickly arrived at the hospital. He rushed around, handling everything. My hand was severely swollen and scraped. I also had a slight fever, so the doctor suggested I get in 4 drip for an hour or two. Then Thomas told me he had to step out for a bit. When he came back, he brought me hot porridge. I reached for it. He smiled. Can you eat with one hand? Do you think your husband is dead? I ate the meal awkwardly. On the way back, as soon as I opened the car door, I saw a large bouquet of red roses inside. He stood beside me, looking uneasy. We got married in a hurry. We haven't done many of the things couples do. Ava, are you willing to continue experiencing these things with me? When we got home, there was a table of cold food. I started to realize he was trying to mend our relationship. Many of my married friends told me that marriage needs to be maintained, that it requires communication. My mother said Thomas was successful in his career, so he must be busy, and I should be more understanding. I thought maybe we were still in a period of adjustment, that we should talk about everything. I really believed these things at the time. We started to do all the things couples do. We went to the movies on our days off. I leaned against him, his hands holding mine tightly. Looking at his familiar profile, I couldn't help but think of the past. I used to look at him like this, but back then, I only dared to do it secretly. But these days didn't last long. He started to get very busy. Sometimes when he came home, I could smell the scent of hospital disinfectant on him. I asked him where he had been. He looked a bit uncomfortable. Visiting a sick employee. I was suspicious, but then I thought maybe I was being too paranoid. Could you even have an affair at a hospital? My mother saw that our relationship had improved and started pressuring us more frequently to have children. She even asked if it was my problem, if I should get checked. I asked her angrily, why don't you suspect it's Thomas's problem? Thomas's mother also started saying, you're still young now. It's a good time to have children for a quick recovery. I can help take care of the baby. I was at a loss. Why were they all asking me about this? Why did Thomas seem so detached? It was as if having a child was something I could do all by myself. I had been promoted to manager for a while, and the position of deputy director of marketing had opened up. I wanted to compete for it. My mother said, can the money you earn compare to Thomas's? The deputy director's annual salary was over $350,000. This was money I earned myself. I had never asked Thomas for money since we got married, but once I got pregnant and had a child, I would definitely not have this opportunity. That evening, Thomas came to pick me up. We were walking in the park next to our neighborhood. A few children were running and playing. A little girl fell, and I went to help her up. In that instant, our eyes met. We were both adults. The atmosphere was set. He suddenly hugged me tightly. I thought he was going to talk about having children. I was wondering if I should sacrifice my career and agree. But then I heard him say, Ava, let's not have children for now. In that moment, my heart turned cold. I was so ridiculous. The thought of self-sacrifice was utterly laughable. But fate has a way of playing tricks on people. I was pregnant. When I found out, I sat on a hospital bench, speechless, not knowing who to tell. I touched my face and realized a tear had fallen. I had thought about getting an abortion. I wondered if I should tell Thomas. I thought this child wouldn't be in this world for long. I tried to eat good food, but as I ate, I couldn't help but cry. She had just come into my belly, and I was already thinking of killing her. And for some reason, as I got older, I felt more and more lonely. I didn't know why I had reached this point, and I had no answers. Thomas came home very late for several nights in a row. I wanted to talk to him about this, but he always came back after I was asleep. By the time I woke up, he had already gone to work. He seemed incredibly busy, until another weekend. His mother urged us to go back to their family home for dinner. The house was a villa on a mountainside. I cautiously brought up the topic of children. After just a few words, he suddenly lost his temper. Ava, can't we just live like this? Do you know how complicated it is to raise a child? What if the child gets sick? Can you handle it? He berated me, and I stood there, stunned. It started to pour outside. His phone lit up several times. Someone was calling. I glimpsed the name, Chloe. The blood in my veins turned to ice. He saw my gaze and quickly said, no, it's not like that. Ava, I wanted to question him, but I couldn't speak. Tears were already streaming down my face. The phone kept ringing. Then a WeChat message came through. Thomas opened it. It was a child's voice message. Uncle Thomas, it hurts. It hurts. I want to see you. Then the next voice message. Thomas, what do I do? The baby is dying. She wants to see you one last time. I felt a chill run through me. Did Thomas and Chloe have a child together? But it wasn't what I thought. Thomas explained to me that Chloe had an illegitimate child that she had been hiding from the media. The child had leukemia and was very pitiful. I suddenly understood. It wasn't that he didn't like children, or didn't want children. He just didn't want my child. Then he said in a pleading tone, Ava, This is really the last time. The rain was pouring down outside. I finally managed to find my voice. Are you telling me to get out of the car right now? I reached for the seatbelt and opened the door. Thomas quickly grabbed my hand. I said with cold sarcasm, "Am I still in your way? Ava, can you not be so petty about a child? Chloe and I are really over," he said, getting out of the car first and taking a large umbrella from the trunk. He handed it to me. I didn't take it. He pried my hand open and put the umbrella in it. "Ava, stop acting like a child. That kid is really sick." Then he draped his coat over me and drove away quickly. I threw his coat off, holding the umbrella, and felt a sharp pain in my abdomen. The rain was too heavy. Even with such a large umbrella, it didn't do much good. It was hard to get a taxi on the winding mountain road. I tentatively walked forward, the pain in my stomach getting worse. Then I suddenly slipped. I held my belly tightly, but it was no use. The rain blurred my vision, but I could still see the red blood mixed with rainwater spreading beneath me. In the downpour, it was hard to even call for help. I reached for my phone. I had to call someone. Suddenly, I heard a voice. "Holy crap, Ava, what's wrong?" I struggled to open my eyes. It was my direct supervisor, my boss's son, Ethan. We had never gotten along, but this time, I didn't care. I grabbed his pant leg tightly. "Please, take me to the hospital, my baby." He quickly knelt down, picked me up, and ran, putting me in his car. On the way, he wrapped me in a blanket, his voice stuttering. "It's okay. I drive really fast. Ava, you have to hold on. If you die, all the clients you worked so hard to get will be mine. And the little sisters in your team will be mine too." He rambled on. At the hospital, I was quickly sent to the emergency room. A few seconds after they gave me anesthesia, I fell asleep. When I woke up, I wanted to ask the doctor about the baby. The doctor said angrily, "In such a heavy storm, and you fell so hard, what do you think your body is?" She was about to continue, but then she saw my tears and sighed helplessly. "It's okay, you can have children in the future." After the doctor left, I lay in bed, even though I kept telling myself, "It's nothing, that child wouldn't have been happy in a family like this anyway." I couldn't stop the sadness. I hadn't protected my child. I had also debased myself. Why did I marry Thomas? But he had just recently said that we would live a good life, that he wouldn't let me be wronged again. But as soon as Chloe came into the picture, all his promises vanished with the wind. Ethan asked me for Thomas's phone number to call and inform him. I tried to smile as I answered him, but I could only manage a bitter smile. "Thank you, I'm fine now. You can go about your business. I'll be back at the company as soon as possible. I won't compete with you for the East China market share this time." Ethan rolled his eyes at me. "Are you in love with love? You're still making excuses for him. I'm telling you, you have to tell your husband about this. You've suffered so much." "Ugh, fine, I get it. You're old, you have little dating experience, and you rushed into marriage. I tried to stop you back then, but you wouldn't listen. This time, you really have to listen to me." He suddenly sat down and took my hand, speaking earnestly. If he hadn't helped me, I really couldn't have stopped myself from arguing with him. He had always had a sharp tongue. I still remembered when I told my colleagues I was getting married. He stopped me after work and asked if I had never seen a man before getting married after such a short time of dating. I patiently told him that he was someone I had liked for a long time. He continued to be sarcastic. "How long have you liked him? Have you even really spent time with him? Do you know him? You're not still playing that little girl's game at your age, are you?" This barrage of attacks almost made my lungs explode. I retorted, "What's it to you?" He didn't say anything after that, but after this incident, I didn't even accept his wedding gift. He left it in my locker. I returned it to him once, but he threw it back, so I just left it. And now, seeing me in such a pathetic state, he would have even more material to insult me with in the future. Ethan saw that I wasn't speaking and continued, "You're not, are you? If you do this, your husband won't even feel sorry for you. He's the one who left me on the side of the road." I said calmly, "Huh, are you hungry? I'll go buy you something." He was at a loss for words and used this as an excuse to leave. Not long after, I received a call from Thomas. I hung up. He called again. After hanging up several times, he finally stopped calling. I leaned against the headboard, my mind blank. Soon, my phone received a call from an unknown local number. As a salesperson, I couldn't miss any client's call. I composed myself and answered the phone. Then I heard the voice I least wanted to hear at the moment. "Ava, what are you trying to pull? Why are you dragging innocent people into this? I told you it was the last time. Why are you so vengeful?" This was the first time I had ever seen him so angry. I listened in silence. He continued, "Do you know how much this hurts the child?" I couldn't listen anymore. I interrupted him. "Let's get a divorce. I'll see you at the Civil Affairs Bureau on Monday." Then I hung up. Then I saw a Weibo push notification. I clicked on it. Explosive. Chloe's child. I knew he thought it was me. I stayed in the hospital for 2 days. The first thing I did after being discharged was to rent an apartment. I couldn't stay with my mother for now, because she definitely wouldn't want me to divorce Thomas. I was tired. I didn't have the strength to convince her. After renting the apartment, I went back to the home I shared with Thomas to get my things. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Thomas sitting on the sofa. When he saw me, he quickly stood up. "Where have you been these past few days? You haven't been answering your phone." "I'm here to get my things. Don't be late on Monday." I ignored him and went to my room to pack. He followed me, continuing, "Ava, you're an adult. Is divorce something you can just say lightly?" I turned and looked at him. I suddenly realized he was different from the person in my memory. It was just my love that had cast a glow on him. He was just an ordinary man. A foolish ordinary man. His radiance, his peaks, couldn't bring me anything. This kind of love was too tiring. I didn't want to always be looking up to someone. I said calmly, "Yes, we're all adults. I don't want to make a scene. I'm serious." He was silent, then suddenly said, "Don't you regret it?" On Saturday, I moved into my rented apartment. These past few days had been so tiring. My stomach hurt, and I was constantly running around. Just as I lay down, Ethan's call came through. He told me to open the door. I opened the door, and there he was. I was too tired. "Mr. Hayes, this is my personal time." He propped the door open with his foot and came in with several bags. "Ava, I was in Guangdong for a while. Want to try the soup I made?" He completely ignored what I said and came right in. I stared at him with a grim expression. Saying nothing, he put down his things and looked me over. TSK. "Ava, look at your face. Anyone who didn't know better would think you don't have long to live. You're as pale as a ghost." My gaze happened to fall on the full-length mirror in the living room. Ethan's mouth seemed to have mastered some evil art. His words were venomous, but damn it, he was right. I really did look like I didn't have long to live. Thinking about it made my stomach hurt even more. I ignored him and went back to my room to lie down. He could do whatever he wanted. He ate dinner with me, cleaned up the kitchen, and then left. I asked him who told him my address. He said very casually, "Do I need to ask someone to find out something?" Showing off was really his thing, but I was really grateful to him during this time. I didn't know how to repay him. I almost had too many debts to worry about attitude. On Saturday night, my phone suddenly received countless calls. As soon as I answered, I was met with all kinds of abuse. My friends couldn't even get through. Vile, abusive messages flooded in one after another. I had slept all afternoon and my head was groggy. It took me a while to figure out what was going on. Someone had exposed on the internet that I had reported Thomas and Chloe in high school out of jealousy. Then, Chloe's fans started to massively retweet that I was a manipulative bitch who had exposed her illegitimate child to steal Thomas. They imagined that Chloe's child was Thomas's, and I was the biggest manipulative bitch who had destroyed their epic love story. Even a classmate who had been close to Chloe in the past came out to testify how I, being plain and with average grades, had humbly crushed on Thomas, and then turned to revenge when my love was unrequited. Soon, my backup phone rang. My mother called to ask what was going on. Someone had smashed her window. My mother and father were divorced. My father had rarely contacted me over the years, so he wasn't affected. I comforted my mother, telling her not to be afraid. Ethan's call came through right after. He knew my backup number. He said the public pressure was forcing the company to fire me, and told me not to go out for now. He was coming to find me. I quickly stopped him. There were definitely people downstairs. After all, even my mother's place had been vandalized. Any man who came to see me now would be slandered. I first found a photo of my marriage certificate and sent it to Ethan, telling him that I couldn't do anything if the company wanted to fire me, but I needed some media power. I had to speak out now. Ethan replied, "Who do those idiots think they are, telling me what to do? I'll have the official account post this photo for you." Then I posted a statement myself. Various media outlets helped me retweet it. Mr. and Mrs. Thomas have been married for 3.5 years. If the child is his, then this is evidence of his infidelity. I am currently in the process of divorcing him. Also, we met on a blind date. If he had told me earlier that his love was so unforgettable, I would never have contacted him. As an established skincare company, we didn't have many media resources, but I was betting that someone would help me. I had nothing to do with Chloe's situation. In that circle of fame and fortune, many people wanted to see her fall. In less than half an hour, my statement went viral. Thomas's call finally came through. He sounded furious. "Ava, why were you in such a hurry? Do you know how hard Chloe has worked to get where she is?" My stomach was in knots. I put a heat pack on it. My phone was recording how he was defending Chloe. When I had recorded enough, I couldn't listen anymore. I just said calmly, "Thomas, I only have one request. Don't be late on Monday." Then I hung up. I put on a coat and prepared to go to my mother's. After all, she was old and couldn't handle this. But as soon as I opened the door, I saw a sneaky figure. I screamed in fright. The person quickly covered my mouth. "Ava, it's me." My mother pushed me into the room, took off her scarf and hat, and said, "Are you okay? Did they bully you?" As she spoke, her eyes were red and her hair was messy, but the anxiety in her eyes immediately brought tears to my eyes. I had never dared to tell her. I was afraid she would scold me, that she would think Thomas was so great and scold me for being foolish and wanting to divorce him. But she had crossed half the city in the middle of the night to find me. She held my hand, then looked even more worried. "What's wrong? Why are your hands so cold? Have you eaten? Are you sick? Mom is here." I couldn't hold it in anymore and burst into tears in her arms. "Mom, my baby is gone. My baby is gone." She was shocked at first, then patted my back. "Mom is here. It's Mom's fault. Mom didn't create a good environment for you, letting you be bullied." My mother helped me back to my room to rest. She made me hot soup. After drinking it, I fell into a drowsy sleep. I don't know how long I slept. In a daze, I heard a commotion in the living room. "Thomas, is it because I asked you for 300,000 that you're retaliating? I can give you the money back. Can you please clarify things for Ava?" "Thomas, Ava has had a hard life. With a mother like me, please have a heart and be good to her." "Okay." Thomas didn't say anything, but I heard my mother continue. This time, she changed her approach. "Thomas, what does it matter if your family is rich and powerful? Let me tell you, I'll risk my life to protect my child. I'll sit in front of your company every day. I'll die at your company's doorstep. I don't believe it won't affect you." I stood at the door, tears streaming down my face. Ethan suddenly sent me a message, asking if I wanted to play a big game. The company had decided to terminate its contract with Chloe and asked if I dared to take a gamble and be the spokesperson. I was in marketing, so I naturally understood what he meant. I had originally planned for an amicable split. Since it had come to this, then let's use it as a stepping stone for my own advancement. I couldn't break into the entertainment industry, but I wanted to make my life as good as possible. I still had my high school homeroom teacher's WeChat. She had added me after graduation. After marrying Thomas, I was still in the mindset of trying to prove myself to him. So I went to see the teacher. I asked her if I was the one who had reported Thomas and Chloe. She replied, "Of course not. That was so long ago. I saw them hugging myself." I still had the chat history. The teacher had also messaged me today, asking what was going on. I hadn't had a chance to reply. Now I directly told her, "I want to prove my innocence. I hope you can help me testify with that message." She replied that she was just an ordinary person and didn't want to get involved. I sent her a screenshot of our conversation. "Either you post it, Ms. Davis, or I'll post all of our conversations." If all our conversations were posted, she would be affected. The reason I had to threaten her to post it was because an outsider's words sometimes have more weight than the person involved. I needed to build up the atmosphere for this incident. Soon, I opened my computer and started writing a long post. My language skills had always been good. I wrote a heart-wrenching story of unrequited love. I firmly denied reporting them and ended with a single sentence. "My eyes have always been on the distant stars, but I forgot that I could be a star myself. I have worked diligently in my industry. Am I going to lose my job because of my partner's scandals? Why?" The company retweeted my statement. "Perfect Cosmetics was born for every ordinary girl who shines. We will never fire a legally married female employee because her husband has a scandal with a spokesperson. She is the victim. She has been with our company for 6 years and has created countless value for us. We believe she is the one who shines. We now invite her to be our spokesperson." Then, the teacher's statement video went viral. Then, many colleagues testified that Thomas had come to the company to pick me up. By the time everything was handled, it was very, very late. I turned off my phone and went to sleep. The next morning, I woke up to a full table of nutritious food my mother had made for me. She said in a fawning tone, "Ava, did I wake you?" I hugged her and said in a low voice, "It's okay. I've handled everything." The next morning, Thomas was unexpectedly waiting for me downstairs. He had bought flowers and a set of gemstone necklaces. He looked very haggard, his eyes red. Ava, I've looked into it. The one who sent the child's photo was Chloe's rival, not you. The high school thing was so long ago. I really don't care, but I care. Thomas, have you ever been ostracized? Have you ever had a group of people discuss every day how shameless you are, how unworthy you are? But thank you for not caring. It made my situation a little better, but I'm really tired. Let's just let each other go. I didn't want to waste any more time with him, but he wouldn't give up. Ava, Chloe's child is fine now. We can live our own lives peacefully in the future. I wouldn't get angry over such things anymore. I just looked at him calmly. Her child is fine. My child is gone. He looked at me with a stunned expression. I moved closer to him, staring into his eyes. Thomas, you killed her. You killed her. How can we still be together? He reached out to hug me. I pushed him away and looked at him coldly. Ava, don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. As he spoke, tears fell from his eyes. I sent him the audio recording I had made. Do you want to hear what you're saying? Are you having a mental breakdown right now? I really don't want us to have an ugly fight. He continued. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just this one last time. Just this one last time. It really won't happen again. I was just pitying her. I thought that poor child had no father. I was tired of his so-called explanations. I threatened him. Let's get a divorce. If you keep pestering me, I'll post this recording online. He looked at me with a bitter smile. Will you not be angry if I post it? Then, in front of me, he opened his own account and posted it. He was insane. I didn't want to get entangled with him anymore. I just threw out. Then I'll just have to go through the legal process. He just stood downstairs, not leaving. In the afternoon, it started to pour. He sent me a text message. Ava, was it this hard for you that day in the rain? I'm here to help you punish that damn man. I saw it without any emotion. I found a lawyer and prepared to sue for divorce. The online incidents came one after another. Thomas's actions brought him a lot of attacks, from Chloe's fans and many onlookers. He, like me before, received a lot of abusive messages. Every time I saw him, he looked more haggard. Even his mother came to me, begging me to help Thomas, but I wouldn't soften my heart anymore. No one had pitied me back then, and I knew that if Thomas needed it, he could always find a professional PR team. It wasn't up to me, a half-baked amateur. I had only been able to fight back because I caught them off guard. I just wanted to end my relationship with him as soon as possible, but Thomas kept pestering me. He found my old notebook. I had brought it back when we got married. He held the notebook and begged me. Like me. Okay, Ava, just like me one more time. Okay, don't leave me. Okay. I threw the notebook into the artificial lake in front of him. He jumped in without hesitation. He came back, drenched and pathetic, with the notebook that was already too old to be old. The notebook that held all the regrets of my youth was now even more unreadable after being soaked in water. He looked at me, his eyes full of pleading. I just said softly, either we divorce now, or it will take a little longer to get a divorce through the courts. You said I would meet that person when I reached the peak. I've tried my best to reach the peak. Why don't you want me anymore? He said suddenly. I didn't say anything. He suddenly became emotional. A flicker of light in his eyes. It was you, wasn't it? It was you. The anonymous person was you, wasn't it? You can't leave me, Ava. You're the one who made me unable to leave you, and now you're going to throw me away. Why are you always like this? You never say anything. He pounded the handrail in frustration. Even if I wasn't the anonymous person, as your wife before, do you think what you did to me was moral? You're the one who said our marriage was just a transaction. He couldn't lift his head after my first sentence, then suddenly looked up at me. When did I say that? When did I say that? Forget it. It's not important anymore. Every time I see you, I'm reminded of how you trampled on me. Every time I see you, I'm reminded of my child. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I accused him, tears streaming down my face. He looked at me carefully. Do you really hate me that much now? Okay, but you can't refuse my property settlement. After signing, I went home feeling completely drained. These past few years had been like a dream. After the divorce, my mother was neither happy nor sad. She secretly went to give the dowry back to Thomas. Thomas didn't want it. She directly found someone to help her exchange it for $300,000 in cash and left it at Thomas's reception. When she came back and saw my expression, she looked like she was about to cry. I gave it all to him. That's great. I praised her. She ignored me and went to the kitchen to cook, muttering to herself as she washed the vegetables. I knew how good Thomas's situation was back then. I was just afraid you wouldn't last long. I thought, since you were willing to marry him, I should get you some security. Who knew it would come to this? I went over and hugged her. My life is still long. I can still earn many 300,000s. The internet hype died down. I took the company's endorsement fee and continued with my daily work. I was quite satisfied with my life now. Ethan would find me from time to time. I actually felt a bit awkward. I didn't want this to ruin the job I cherished. Until the office started to gossip. A mean-spirited man came up to me and said, "Sister Ava, you just got divorced. And you're already involved with young Mr. Hayes." I threw the tea in my cup at his face. "Watch your mouth." He was completely enraged. "You don't really think you're still a hot commodity at almost 30, do you?" This man had chased me when I first joined the company. I had rejected him. Now he was trying to disgust me. Just as I was about to hit him, Ethan arrived. He directly shouted at Ethan, "Mr. Hayes, you're not really interested in a woman like Ava, are you?" Ethan punched him to the ground. "I fucking like Ava. What's it to you? Who are you to say anything?" One stone set off 1,000 waves. I looked at my precarious job. Whenever I saw Ethan in the company, I would hide, until a business trip. Ethan happened to be going too. I was driving. For some reason, he had a brain fart and didn't drive. It was another rainy day. I was holding an umbrella and going downstairs when I saw Thomas. He said cautiously, "Ava, I was just passing by. Can I give you a ride back?" I waved my car keys at him. Ethan was standing at the door. Some rain was already getting on him. "Ethan, let's go." Ethan quickly followed, grabbing the belt of my trench coat. On the way, I was driving. He said to himself, "I never thought I would be reduced to being used by you to provoke your ex-husband." Before I could say anything, he continued, Forget it. At least I'm still of some use to you. Whenever you want to use me, you can come find me anytime." Me? What the hell? What was this all about? What was going on in his head? I explained helplessly. "He and I are long over." "Then why did you let me get in the car? Should I have just watched you get soaked in the rain?" I retorted. Ethan smiled like a morning glory. "You finally know how to feel sorry for me, Ava." After Chloe and I broke up, I started to doubt myself for a long time. Why? What was wrong with me that Chloe would leave me? Until that blind date, where I had to deal with my mother's endless nagging. And I met her. She was drinking her coffee with her head down at first, not even looking at me. It wasn't until I spoke that she looked up. The look in her eyes at that moment made my heart skip a beat. I recognized her. That girl who barely spoke in class back then. I even remembered that she seemed to have a crush on me, to the point of doing something against her principles. To meet again in such a setting. We exchanged contact information on that blind date and then went our separate ways. That night, I lay in bed and suddenly thought that if I had to choose someone to spend my life with, I wanted someone who liked me. On our second date, I clearly remember that when I took her hand, it was trembling slightly, her palm sweaty in the middle of winter. She had also ordered a table full of my favorite dishes. She wasn't angry that I was late. She blushed and said it was just a coincidence. But I wasn't a high school boy anymore. I knew the difference between a coincidence and a thoughtful gesture. That evening, as we were walking, I looked down and saw the way she looked at me. On an impulse, I said, "Why don't we get married?" I was shocked myself when I said it, and I thought it was very presumptuous, but I didn't expect her to agree. She seemed very easy to please. I remember once booking an entire floor of a hotel, filling it with Chloe's favorite flowers, and proposing to her. She just hugged me and said, "Thomas, I want to pursue my dream." People seem to change so easily. Chloe had also once said that if I wasn't in her future, she didn't want that future. The 3 years I was with Ava were the most relaxing 3 years of my life. No matter how late I came home, she would always be on the sofa with her laptop, waiting for me. A warm orange lamp lit in the living room. Her hair would be half tied up, looking incredibly gentle. She always remembered what I liked. She always paid attention to everything about me. But sometimes I also got angry at how overly cautious she was. I will never forget our wedding night, when she gave me the money she had saved, saying it was to pay back my dowry. I was really angry that day. Did we have to be so clear-cut with each other? I had also thought about having a child with her, until I met Chloe again. That day, I was supposed to go to our 3rd anniversary dinner, but I saw a drunk Chloe on the side of the road. There was no one with her. I had thought about ignoring her, but after knowing her for so many years, I knew how much she cared about her career. I still softened my heart, until I saw that child, Chloe's illegitimate son. The child's father was a powerful figure in their circle. I didn't want to know the reason. Anyway, that man never showed up from beginning to end. That child was so thin. Because of him, the proud Chloe looked so humble. Having a child comes with great risks. I was afraid that Ava and I would encounter something like this. How could we accept it? I didn't want to think about it for a while, so I was very resistant to the topic of children. That day, I came home very late. I thought Ava would scold me, but she still wasn't angry. I would rather she scold me, hit me, like a normal wife, instead of being so cautious. Later, I also reflected on whether I had given her enough security. I thought about picking her up from work, but then I ran into reporters who were waiting for Chloe at the door. I didn't want to face them, so I just wanted to run. By some twist of fate, Chloe and I ended up running together. I wanted to explain to Ava, but she cut me off. At that moment, I was a little scared. That Ethan from her company was also always looking for her. For the first time, I felt a sense of panic. That child of Chloe's rarely saw strangers. He often called me, wanting to see me. Chloe even sent me a message one day saying she regretted it. Surprisingly, I didn't feel any pleasure. I had Ava now, but seeing her unhappy, I sometimes felt sad. After all, she had been with me through all those youthful years. Chloe hoped I would keep her child a secret, and I agreed, until the last time I went to see that child. It was pouring that day. I had originally arranged for someone to pick up Ava. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to see that child for the last time. He was a pitiful child, but later, the person I sent told me that they hadn't been able to pick up Ava. Then I saw the news online. In that moment, I was very, very angry. I had trusted her so much. I went to question her. Her voice sounded weak and tired. The next 2 days were longer than my entire life. A lot of online posts attacking Ava appeared. I called Chloe and told her to solve it. She asked me to give her half a day. Then, not long after, Ava spoke out. When I saw her statement, a boundless panic spread through me. I wanted to explain to her the reason why I hadn't dealt with it immediately. We argued again. For the first time, she mentioned divorce. Then I witnessed how ruthless an Ava who didn't love me could be. She didn't give me any time to react. Even at that time, I was still thinking of getting back with her, until she told me that on the day I left her on the road, she had lost our child. That was the first time I saw her cry so miserably. I was such a scumbag. I chose to escape. I went back to the house and saw that notebook. The words written in invisible ink were already hard to see. I used a UV light to read it, page by page. All the sentences were very short, but they were all the silent thoughts of the quiet Ava from those years. I immediately realized that the anonymous person was also her. I went to find her, hoping that we could have another chance. Then she threw the notebook into the water. I went to pick it up, drenched and pathetic. The scattered words were like Ava's scattered love for me. She said that every time she saw me, she only felt pain. I gave her what she wanted and signed the papers. She was such a fool. She had the recording in her hand but didn't post it. I posted it. Soon, I felt why she had been so stressed at that time. Thousands of messages flooded in online. The same vile language that had once been directed at the silent her. I had never been to a class reunion before, but I suddenly wanted to know what the old Ava was like. To my surprise, no one had much of an impression of her. She didn't talk much, was always alone, and just did her own work at her desk. Later, a male classmate suddenly mentioned that he had gotten married through a blind date. He felt there was no love and posted an anonymous message, complaining that it was a transaction. His wife had found out. They were now in the process of divorcing, but he had really fallen in love with his wife. I quickly grasped this information and asked him for his wedding date. It was the same day as mine. I asked him if he had added Ava. He said he couldn't remember. He took out his phone and searched. Sure enough, she was there. For a moment, I wanted him to help me explain that the message Ava had seen was not posted by me. But when I took out my phone and saw the red exclamation mark next to the message I had sent to Ava, my heart turned cold. She didn't even want to be friends with me anymore. The last time we met was also on a rainy day. I wanted to give her a ride back, but I had long lost the chance.